Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. So, the man labeled a wacko and a dope by President Trump, John Bolton, President Trump's former national security advisor from the first term, he had his home and his office raided by the FBI. Now, there's a lot of talk about classified documents, and this has something to do with a memoir that he wrote back in 2020, and he released possibly classified information in that memoir. That may be part of this, but I think this goes far beyond that. There is something much more to all of this. J.D. Vance hinted to this very fact in a preview of one of the Sunday morning shows. Listen.
Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton. They're going to look into it. And like I said, if there's no crime here, we're not going to prosecute it. If there is a crime here, of course, Ambassador Bolton will get his day in court. That's how it should be. But again, our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
All right, so notice his words. Something broader than just the classified documents. Now, the timing of all of this, I believe, is no coincidence. We've seen over the last few weeks, many of the leakers start to be exposed. Many of the deep state saboteurs trying to destroy President Trump being exposed. Could possibly John Bolton fall into that category? Maybe. We know President Trump wasn't happy with him when he fired him in 2019. Now, is it possible that Kash Patel's FBI has unearthed some evidence that maybe that Bolton was involved in some of this bad activity to go after President Trump? That is speculation. Or could it be about corruption? This is what James Comer, head of Oversight Committee, offered up.
It appears that they suspect he had somehow mishandled classified documents. I've also always believed that the deep state was closely aligned with a lot of the defense contractors and encouraged a lot of interventions in other countries that I don't think were in the best interest of the taxpayers.
I have said and just said this morning that John Bolton is a warmonger. He is part of not just the deep state and the establishment and the ruling class of Washington, but this guy is part of the military industrialized complex. Everything that he would recommend would be for more war, more war, more war. Why? I believe to line the pockets of his military contractor friends. So as expected, President Trump is keeping his distance from all of this. This is what he had to say about the raids on John Bolton's home and office.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife. And I tell Pam and I tell the group, I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
I'm sure President Trump did exactly that, told Pam Bondi, go figure out who's responsible for all the wrongdoing and go after them. And President Trump will keep his distance and his hands clean of all of this just so it doesn't look political. But I'll tell you, nothing surprises me anymore. And John Bolton having his home and office raided seems to be just another Washington establishment type that is in the crosshairs now of the FBI and the DOJ. Joining me now, political consultant, former advisor to President Trump, host of the Stone Zone, my man Roger Stone's back with us. Roger, good to see you.
Man, great to be with you. What a great day this is. What goes around, comes around.
Well, that's true because there were a lot of barbs thrown at President Trump from John Bolton over the last few years. What do you make of today's developments, Roger?
My sources tell me that this was the reopening of an investigation that was closed under Biden. The Biden administration was only interested in investigating one person for possessing classified documents. That was the one person who legally was entitled to possess them. That would be President Donald Trump, who under the Presidential Records Act could have and declassify any document he wished. There was no crime there. I believe what he had in Mar-a-Lago is essentially what Tulsi Gabbard has declassified for the American people, the goods on the Obama cabal, which fabricated the entire Russian collusion hoax in order to pull the greatest single abuse of power in American history, an attempt to undo the results of the 2016 election. That investigation into Bolton, I believe, was closed. Now Kash Patel has reopened it. Here's the difference between the FBI under James Comey or under his successor, Christopher Wray. Kash Patel would not conduct an FBI raid without probable cause, without some legal rationale. The fact that George Conway, of all people, who does not live in the Washington suburbs but lives in New York, was present for this early morning raid, first of all, tells me that Bolton was tipped off, but secondarily, that Bolton has lawyered up. And my guess is he probably needs to.
All right. Roger, do you think that this could be related at all to leaks during the first Trump administration? President Trump was plagued with leaks coming out of his administration. Do you think any of this could be tied to that?
It is certainly conceivable, but it is interesting that there's a stark contrast between then and now. Now you have a White House staff that does not leak. You have a Defense Department that does not leak. You have an FBI that does not leak. You have a State Department that does not leak. It's really quite impressive. So, for example, we don't know exactly what transpired. The president's very delicate negotiations to try to end the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The president will tell us when he needs to know, but he doesn't conduct his negotiations in public. Anybody who's read The Art of the Deal knows that. I just can't help but note the stark contrast here. I'm kind of curious to know why Real America's Voice didn't have a camera 25 feet from the front door of John Bolton's home when the place was raided. It's interesting, Grant, because CNN, won an award from the prestigious White House Correspondents Association for their investigative reporting, when the truth is, I was arrested at 6:06 in the morning. At 6:11, someone from CNN sent my lawyer a copy of my sealed indictment that would not be unsealed for 4 more hours, that had no court stampings or markings on it. But if you look at the metadata tag on that document, you have the initials of the man who wrote it, therefore the man who leaked it. Andrew Weissman, the de facto head of the Mueller witch hunt. So they received an illegal leak. That's why they were at my doorstep. You notice there was no camera crew at the doorstep of John Bolton.
Look, it's a great point that this administration is trying to do it by the book. It's no secret Real America's Voice has a fabulous relationship with this administration, with those inside the DOJ. I'm very good friends with Kash Patel. I didn't get a phone call in the middle of the night to be at this house because they're doing it by the book. A stark contrast from the way the Democrats operate. Just to bring this interview full circle, you had mentioned, boy, it's nice to see what comes around goes around a little bit. Let me play you a clip from John Bolton, just giddy over the raid of Mar-a-Lago. I wonder how he's feeling now. Roll cut 2.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
All right, so what comes around goes around. Karma's a witch with a B. Roger, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I'd like to know one thing, and that is, did John Bolton appropriate that mustache from one of the village people? That's what I want to know.
It's an awful, awful mustache. What was the line from the Bad News Bears? I'm going to shave off half that mustache and shove it up your left nostril, I think, if you remember from the Bad News Bears. Anyway, I go back and date myself. Roger Stone, thank you. As always, have a great weekend. And yes, it is a good day. And it's always a great day when you're on with me.
Thank you. Great to be here, Grant. Let's be very clear. Justice is coming for all of these criminals.
I certainly hope you're right, and I believe we are looking closer and closer to that happening, okay? Every day I become a little bit more hopeful that will happen. All right, I want to talk now about the Epstein case. All right, Ghislaine Maxwell, basically the pimp for Epstein, his right-hand woman. I am starting to believe, folks, and this is very difficult for me to say because I do believe Epstein was a bad dude and I do think he did some bad things. But I am now wondering if this entire Epstein case was a false flag operation to take our attention and move it elsewhere. We were told there are thousands of victims, only few have come forward. We were told there were hundreds of these abusers. We know of only one or two. Epstein himself committed suicide? Maybe, maybe not. Was all this trumped up to take our eye off of some other ball? Well, now the DOJ finally interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell, and it is about time. It is odd to me they never interviewed her before now. As promised, they released the audio, all of it, of that interview so you could hear it for yourself, and some very interesting things came out. You know, we were always told we want the list, the client list. What did she have to say about that when being interviewed by the Department of Justice?
Do you know, do you have a list of names in your head or names that come to mind of people that you know did get massages when they were with Mr. Epstein?
No, there's no list. There's no list of people getting massages. I don't have, I can barely recall all the people. I can barely recall. I struggle to recall actual people that I met.
So she struggles to recall the people there. There is no list. You can believe her or not believe her, but here's what's very suspect is, again, this was the first time the DOJ ever interviewed her. They put her on trial. How was she not interviewed before this? Makes no sense, and she was willing to conduct the interview. Which then leads me to believe was all of this Epstein stuff designed to lead us down a road to suspect President Trump. That, oh, well, everyone's going to throw his name in there. And sure enough, that's what a lot of people tried to do, but they could never find any evidence on President Trump. Why? Because there is none. Because he's clean as a whistle. And she backed that up as well, too. Listen.
Ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe, you said that you were, I mean, have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yeah.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yeah. That's my memory. If there was social settings.
She was asked specifically, was Trump ever inappropriate? And her answer to that was no, never, ever. She also testified that Bill Clinton, as much as I want him to be the dirty dog that I know that he is, she claims he was never on Epstein's island. A lot of people made big careers over Epstein, whether it was in Justice Department, whether it was in conservative media. A lot of people profited handsomely off of the Epstein conspiracy. And here we're getting a big nothing every step of the way, including men that I trust, Kash Patel, telling us there's nothing there. Unless they destroyed all the evidence, which could be a possibility, but I really am starting to believe this may have been one of the best false flag operations ever run on the American people. This is what President Trump had to say about it.
I'm in support of keeping it open.
If they wanted to
Innocent
release.
people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax.
Well, again, you know, when he first said it, I thought, what are you talking about, Mr. President? But the hat he's wearing, Trump is always right. I mean, he seems to be always right. This may have been Democrat concocted to lead whoever, maybe even conservative media, down the road to question President Trump. It didn't work, failed miserably, and a lot of people paid the price, but a lot of people profited off of this too. All right, turning now to one of my favorite restaurants, okay? It is destroying itself. The Cracker Barrel. That's an institution here in Texas. When I lived in Florida, I probably went to the Cracker Barrel once a week. I love the Cracker Barrel. Well, the old saying goes, go woke, go broke, and that appears to be happening. They've changed the logo. No old man anymore in the logo. If you can see, well, the old man's cut off there. But put the full shot up on the screen so we can see the original logo without me on it. There you go. There's the old man. He's gone. The new logo on the right, okay? Is he because he's a white cracker? I mean, I don't know. Why do away with the old man? Well, apparently they want to do away with all the tchotchkes and go to some kind of Chip and Joanna Gaines decor inside and do away with really the nostalgia that Cracker Barrel provided its loyal customer base. Customers are sick over this, and the CEO is delusional about it.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
You know, that's the CEO. Michael Strahan, come on, man. Oh, really? You look at the stock market. If customers are so happy about this, the stock wouldn't be down nearly 20%. It took a nosedive because people are angry about this. So the old white cracker, Uncle Herschel, off the logo. And then we learn that LGBTQ, that gay mafia, alphabet mafia, whatever you want to call it, made its inroads into the Cracker Barrel. And they came up with DEI offices, and they started working with the Human Rights Campaign. And they had rainbow rocking chairs out there. And they were being proud of being more inclusive. It's the Cracker Barrel, for crying out loud. The old country store. No longer. I'm not eating there anymore. Not anytime soon, anyway. I want to bring in now celebrity chef and Huntington Beach council member out in California. Chef Andrew Gruel is with us. Chef, it's great to have you back on the program.
Oh, I love being on with you, and it's a hard act to follow with Roger Stone on prior to myself, but I'll try and make it good.
Well, look, you run restaurants. This may be one of the worst rebrands ever. I'm not sure I put it in the Bud Light category yet, but this is bad. You got to be careful when you go down this road as a business owner.
So much to unpack here. Let me set the table a little bit, pun intended. And I've owned we had up to 40 restaurants at one point, and I had them across 14 different states. I know what those meetings are like when you have the managers there, as she was describing. They were telling her what she wanted to hear. I always used to tell all my managers and general managers across the country, I don't want you guys to kiss my butt. I want to know really what we should be doing. What do the customers want? And that's corporate America and corporatism right there. So now, the way of background, 2011, Cracker Barrel was actually bought out by Catterton, which is one of the larger private equity firms. They did a ton of restaurant and retail purchases. And when they do things like that, what they're trying to do is they're really trying to create a brand that they can scale out to hit whatever margins they need. So the first thing they do is strip the brand of its character, and then they try and kind of redefine the brand through all these sterile branding, get rid of its culture.
Uh-oh. Did we lose
jargon?
Chef
People
Gruel?
want Cracker Barrel for the food.
Absolutely, Chef. And I believe there's part of the experience of going through the country store and it looking kind of old is part all of it. Do you think when we say go woke, go broke, was wokeness part of this?
Well, I certainly think that it probably was on the periphery. I'll tell you, though, I think what happened here is that it's the tinkering with the logo. These CEOs, and they think to themselves, oh, if we play with the brand and we play with the logo, we're going to bring in new customers. But they got to think about it, right? Sometimes it's the food, it's the product, right? We're in this Maha environment. How about just switching back from, I know when they got bought out by private equity, everything started getting co-packed and microwaved and full of preservatives. Let's go back to tallow and bacon bacon fat and real ingredients and real food. That's what Maha has been pushing and what people want right now. But these city slicker CEOs, they don't understand that. And they probably didn't want to indulge in the Maha movement because they don't like that for political purposes. So instead, they probably spent $1 million on this new brand that you could have gotten on Fiverr for $49.99.
I mean, it looks like something I would have. Forget about Fiverr. I could have come up with that logo on Canva for free. Hey, did you know, Chef, that Byron Donalds, the great congressman from Florida, he used to work at Cracker Barrel? Let me play a clip for you, him talking about this rebrand.
I saw last night they started changing the menu. Cracker Barrel Old Country Store is a staple of America.
Yes.
Everybody goes there when they're on the highway to go get some good breakfast. The hash brown casserole is amazing. Trust me, I served so much of it when I was in college. People just want to go eat great food and enjoy, just the store.
It's very
and to
simple.
change that, because you think you need to do something new, I think they're going to find out it's not going to work.
Chef, do you think we should have seen signs? 2014, they pulled Duck Dynasty merchandise. 2023, they put the rainbow rocking chairs on the front porch. Now, I don't know. Do they survive?
No, but we should have seen the signs, and I actually didn't know that. But what did I say? 2011, that's the private equity buyout, and corporate America is going to follow whatever trend they feel is woke, and that obviously, well, we've talked about kind of like the DEI mandates on a corporate level, so they're just playing along. And Byron Donalds is right. Just give people what they want. They just want a simple meal. Sometimes you don't have to change things. Nostalgia now is become almost a lost art. And I think Waffle House is an example that they've stuck with it. Now, you can always change and tinker and refresh certain things. Remodels are important, but stick with the original model and then, maybe change 10% of it. But the way in which now they've, as I said, they've sterilized the brand and made it so that it no longer has that authenticity that it once had, because they want to. Oh, and also I should mention they brought in all these New York City TikTokers to do a pop-up. These influencers, they're just, these guys have brain worms. They don't know anything about food. So, they're just going through and checking the boxes. They don't care about the brand. They'll ultimately sell it off to somebody for the parts. Sad.
Think about it. Who comes up with the idea to bring in New York City influencers to help Cracker Barrel spread the word when it's literally working class America, mostly in southern states that are going, they're not going to relate to New York City Instagrammers out there. At least I don't think so. Chef Gruel, where can people find you tonight? I imagine you're going to be working a kitchen someplace and making sure the guys are doing it right.
You know it. I'm about to head over to the kitchen. I'm at 16600 Pacific Coast Highway at Calico Fish House in Huntington Beach. We'll be doing the real food, and we're doing everything scratch made, in-house, tallow only. Wish Cracker Barrel would do the same.
All right. Well, be prepared for a mad rush now at Calico Fish House. Chef Gruel, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Grant.
Absolutely. Always good to see you. I don't know. I ran small businesses, not big. I never had 40 restaurants like him, but I don't make dumb decisions. You don't make decisions that could ruin everything. Baby steps. All right. Is the continued divide between Trump and the Federal Reserve putting us behind the curve again? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time, or are we going to be looking at potential economic slowdown? And what does this mean for your savings? Here's what I want you to do. Consider diversifying with gold through Birch Gold Group. If you have an IRA or old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to keep in your safe. First, educate yourself with Birch Gold's free info kit. Just text America to the number 989898. That's America to the number 989898. Let the guys at Birch Gold help you. All right, California in shambles, and all Governor Newsom can focus on is redistricting and running his mouth about Republicans. Candidate for Governor Steve Hilton joins us next.